So the topics what we have done till now is of strings and boolean operators, numbers, okay, arithmetic assignment operators, variables handling. Okay, we did this in the last class. Mhm. So today we are gonna understand about conditional programming and the third and the fourth data type, list and tuples in Python. Okay, so coming to conditional programming, if you can see, the name itself suggests that the codes or the situations or the decisions which will be made by the algorithm or your code, whatever you write, will be based on some conditions, right? And
Good evening, sir.
good evening. And those conditions you can use, using the logical operators or something like that. Okay, so let us just tell. So the logical operators we have seen is your and, or, and not. Apart from it, if we come into the conditions, so you have two major things, if and elif. And apart from it, one is else as well, like which is used for just the output purpose, like something is not left and you want just to have an output of, if the situation is not correct then we use else. And it depends on, like, the user itself or the programmer, whether he or she is using else or not. Okay, it totally depends on the programmer, right? It is not necessary that else is to be used every time, but yeah, if there is a condition or something is a situation where you don't have to go for any other checkings or any other ways, so you can just use else in that case. So what is if? So in the if statement, basically you check for a clause, or you go for the statements, or you check like the very first way or very first situation of your question, right? That is the first thing. Like suppose if I say check uh, number is positive or negative, a very first situation would be whether the number is greater than 0, it is going to be in positive. If it is less than 0, it is going to be negative. So the first thing what comes in mind that, okay, I'm telling you the syntax how to write. So you write if, whatever the statement you have, suppose if your statement, or if your number, let's just say in this question, so if my number is greater than 0, I have to put a colon, press a enter, and this space what is left in the left hand side is called indentations, which is actually five spaces, and one tab equals to five spaces. One, see, it's 1 2 3 4. If you go back, 1 2 3 4 5. All right, and else you can just have one tab and can come directly here. Okay, so what we are going to do is number is greater than 0, we are going to print it is a positive number, or else suppose. So if I'm running this, I'll get an error of name. Why? Because number is not stored. Okay, so suppose I am writing that my number is going to be float value of an input. Okay, fine. So 34 positive number, 0 nothing. So here in the case you can see, you can say, so 0, what is going to be the outcome for 0? Can you say 0 positive or negative? Right? So -2, no output, nothing is generated. Why? Because there is something condition. So what it happens is like the condition what you're checking, if true, it actually means if this outcome is true, then you go for this particular thing. If this becomes false, then what to do? So we are going to write this else print negative. So I go for -3, 23, I get a negative number. I go for 65 or 5, I get a positive. Okay, it's simple clause. If you see the pattern, if go for first checking. Now suppose we take some multiple conditions, and what if now we enter a 0, right? So we are going to take an example of even and an odd number. So we have to make a program to check for even and odd so I'm going to make it through function, and I'll make it my oddiv function, and I'll pass a value here. You just have to understand the inside code of it. Don't go for this thing. We will discuss this particular steps in functions classes. Okay, so we are gonna just go inside. Now here we have to understand. So val is nothing but a kind of a variable which will be treated as a number to check for even and an odd. So whatever the val is, how you check for an even number? Yes, anyone can tell the logic how you go for checking of an even number?
Modulus of 2.
Modulus of 2. Good. So what we
Because
go
equals
for
to 0.
is if the val mod of 2, or giving this, it's actually equals to 0. So if it is 0, we are going to say it is even, or else just simply you say odd. This is a simple program, and once it is done, I think you don't have to do anything else. So we go to my oddiv, I say 34, and I get it even. 343, it becomes odd. What in the case of 0? Is it coming correct? So 0 is odd or even? Alright, so in case of your prime and non-prime numbers, sometimes see if it depends on some various kinds, because for mathematicians, if we say 0 belongs to even category, you can say, because you can have an empty set where you can divide two groups of zeros items each. So that is why some sort of reasons for statistical mathematics, right? But suppose if you just want that 0 is to be excluded, so you don't want this number to be there, so it has to be excluded, suppose. So what we are going to do is we will write elif val. So the first thing is you have to check that if the val is equals to 0. So if it is 0, I'll just simply write it as neutral. If it is not 0, then I'll go for a second check, and I'll find whether this is giving this 0, then I'm going to print it's even. And even though this is not going to happen, then obviously the number is odd. Simple. Okay, I leave simple things, so you get a neutral for this. Okay, that's simple method. Alright, nice. cool. Okay, let's make it simple. So now this is what it is being followed with if and else. So I think that's pretty much clear. Let us go to the list data type. So lists are a collection of heterogeneous data types or elements. In short, it can store the number of different kind of, we can say, data types, and operations of lists are the data type is written like this. So we have an operations, at least 10 functions, 12 functions are there for a list. Yeah, it starts from appends, ends at sort. So let us make a list, and we will be giving some names. Rennie, Mickey, Donald, Goofy, Daisy, and Minnie. So we can relate names from some cartoons. Okay, all right, so this is my list, right? And now let me just tell you the simple steps of this. So you can check this, you can have this, you can these two are basic. So you can see there are 6 elements in my list. Now coming to one by one things, I want to add elements. So what I want to do is I want to add some names, okay, and just a moment. Alright, so there are 3 different methods to add it, followed by append, extend, and insert. So I'm going to do this particular step. So what append does is it just add a number to the last of a list. Okay, if you might have learned about the data structures, there are some methods like LIFO and FIFO. LIFO means the element which is last in will be popped out first, and the FIFO is the first in element will be popped out first, simply. Right, so you can think of some queues where you go first, you enter first, and first in you can go for first out as well, and a pile of books, you can see the last in get first out. Okay, there are a lot of examples for LIFO and FIFO over there that you can just go on. Alright, so we are going to add this. So what is going to happen, the number or the value or the element what we will be adding will be getting added after Minnie. So I'm going to add one more name, and let that be Betty. So I'll say my list dot append, so you can see it's being added. Next thing is extend. So yeah, this is going to take more than one elements, but you have to put this in a format of a list so that you can add. So let's write some names, Ludwig and Scrooge. Okay, anyone who can relate it for which character names these are? So we have a lot of names there. And you can see Scrooge and Ludwig, both of them has been added in the last bit is in the last and so on. Next is something insert. Now we have seen that we can add a number of elements in the last year, number of elements or a single element at a time. So what if we want to add some elements in between of some index number, like I want to add some between Mickey and Donald, some in between Goofy and Donald, or somewhere else. Okay, so I want to add Mortimer in between Mickey and Donald. So 0 1 after the first place I want to enter. So I'm going to use the insert and I'll just write my ls dot insert. So after the first place, or you say 0 1, I want to enter it at second place 0 1 and 2 because I want it here after Mickey but before Donald. So actually in place of Donald I want the other character to come and Donald will be shifted to the third place, third index number I mean to say. Okay, so yeah, let me write and we'll check for it and we can see that it has been shifted to the third index value. Alright, so with this you've seen like how you can add values to a list. Okay, now suppose you want to remove values. The very first method which comes is remove itself. So when I say my ls dot remove granny, so you can see granny has been removed. Then I say there is another function called pop. As I said, the last in will be will be sent out first. So this is the last element which is going to be sent out first. So you can see it has been sent. Now there is no such element present. Okay, another is you can have a clear, you can clear the list, you can copy list. So I'll just make a copy of this list. So I'll say cp equals to my list dot copy, and cp you can see is the same thing. So if I say cp dot clear and check my cp, you see there is nothing inside the cp. Okay, so my ls dot, now you have seen copy, you have seen clear, you have seen append, you have seen extend, insert, okay, pop, remove. Now there is something called as reverse. So if I reverse it, you can see all those things what were here as in reversed array list. What do you say? It has to be collection of elements. Okay, right, it's very simple. Now I want to sort it. What I'll do is my ls dot sort, and here you have a parameter of key. Reverse sorting, yes or no, right? It is always false. If you want, you can keep it true. So we'll check this. So you can see it has been sorted. It's not like let me just check it. Yeah, so it is not just reversed, it has been sorted. You can see it's DGMMPS. Simple. I believe it's fine. Understandable. Okay. Great. So these are actually the simple things. Now index and count are there. Suppose you want to find a particular element. Now you want to see where is mini, in which place it is. So you can see it is there in the fourth index. So you can also locate if you just try to find MYLS and you put it like this, so you get the values itself. Okay, So you're actually locating that particular. So what it was giving you a index number. If you cut this and you see, if you just simply write like this, so you get actually you try to find the index. So this is what it comes. Simple. Okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to form a pair like this. How we can form it? So you suppose I say that I want to make such outputs where I want values like this. So if I say like this, I so what do you understand what I'm saying? I'm saying to bring the values in this way, like Daisy 0, Donald 1, Goofy 2, Mickey 3, Minnie 4, and so on. How we will do it? Any answers?
By you using loop.
Loop can be one approach. Okay, so how? Yeah, get me the statement. Another approach, anyone? Instead of loop, say anything else. Yes. Approaches anymore. Okay, can you use some functions, inbuilt functions? All right. Uh, no answers for that. Okay. So loop is one approach. Yes, yes. Tell me how we are going to use loop here.
So we put I in index of my ls,
Hmm.
and then comma and my ls dot index, and that particular code again we put in like you put in previous code.
Okay. Let me just write it down. You suggest. So for I in my ls, I need to print I, then my ls dot index of I. This is what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So getting this output, right? Another approach. What we can do is, hmm, You can form a list. Can you form a list of all these 0 to 7? Can you form a list of index number? Okay, so this is your work. You try to do using zip function. Go over the net, try to explore what is zip function and try to do this using zip function. Okay, so we'll be proceeding next. So zip, how it works, I'll tell you. Suppose if you have list of values 1 2, you're doing it zip of 3 4, and I won't do it in list. So it's going to come something like this: 1 3 2 4. Okay, it's simple. Like this. I hope this makes clear sense. Alright, anyways, let's get back to next file functions. So here we have completed the count is there. Like suppose in your my list you want to have a count of how many, like hello there, it's no 0. Simple. Okay, well, I believe that's fine. So here we complete our list. Let's move on to tuples part. So tuples are again, guys, a heterogeneous collection of elements, but the thing is immutable. Why immutable? Or like, what is immutable? It means whatever you saw and you did in the list cannot be done here. So it can also store numbers of elements, heterogeneous type elements obviously, but you cannot modify anything once done. Okay, and modifications in the sense, like suppose I create a list and I have tuple and I'll create it using list constructor method, and yep, so you can see this is the tuple. This tuple is stored in the first bracket. Simple, right? So mutable means you can add, you can remove, you can edit, you can update, you can do CRUD operations. CRUD, creating, reading, updating and deleting. So you can, wherever you can have a CRUD operation, that is mutable. If not, immutable. Simple. Alright, let's go ahead. So if you just look on to the directory of it, you have only these two functions, count and index. That's it. Nor you can remove, no you can add, you cannot update, nothing you can do. That's what a tuple is. Okay, so it's basically used in the areas where you have done the work and you just want to store it, not to change it anytime. So in today's world, what is something which is not changed? Can you give example? So just for example, suppose I am going to create a database now. Okay, the database consists of some of your basic informations like a name, first name, last name, date of birth, Aadhaar number, PAN number, address, gender, file number. So it's simple steps like if I want to collect these data, all these data, what are the different type of data types I'm going to use? So I'm going to use all those in this simple thing. First of all, in a dictionary format, the first name, last name, birth year, and all those. But the things like Aadhaar number, PAN card, date of birth, something. These are some of the things which cannot be changed, right? You are not going to get something other in these cases, right? You can always change your mobile number. You can always change your address. The last name and first name also can also be changed using your some of the documents, but you can't change your these identification numbers. So in those cases where you don't want to change anything, you just put it in the tuple area, and that just simply works out here. Okay. But in case of list, something which you can store, you can modify, you can add as number of things you want, and you simply do it in list format. Okay. So that's it, and this is what the data type, the list, and tuple exactly owns. Okay. So in list you have something called as a list constructor method. Anyways, I'll just go with comprehension and constructor both. So comprehension is something where you write kind of a loop, okay, which we will be understanding tomorrow. I think tomorrow, day after tomorrow, something, day after tomorrow, something, which is when you're loop, yeah. So the next class, like on Monday, we'll be starting with the loops, okay, we'll be discussing about a lot of stuffs with that. So I'll just give you an example of, like, suppose I want to store even numbers between 0 and 10, so I'll just write I for, just store even numbers, right? So you can just write it like this if you just write in a loop. So for I in range of 0 to 10, okay, I'm not going to take it 0, I'm going to take it 1 to 10, 1 to 11. Okay, 1 to 10 is fine. What are my even numbers, suppose? So I just want to print, I have to check a condition like if my I is divided by 2 or modulus giving 0, I will print I. So these are the two things. So how you can write this? I, if I so it is going to work or not, if you can say me, yeah. Is it going to work like this? I for I in range of 1 to 10. You're going to get this. What you're going to do something extra where you are just going to get 2, 4, 6, and 8 in form of list. Mm-hmm.
1 comma 10 comma 2.
1 comma 10, no. So I'll just simple have like this. Okay. Nothing else. So I for I in range of 1 to 2. I want to print the values of I for I in range of 1 to 10 if the values of I is divided by 2 and giving the remainder as 0. That is how you have to read it, right? So what we are doing for I in range of 1 to 10, if the value of I are divided by 2 and it is giving 0, I want to print it. So this is my end goal. Writing in a list comprehension it is I want to print I